time to finally go to a lithium battery in your RV or travel trailer. If you try to put a lithium battery directly on your trailer, you're gonna run into two problems immediately. This happens to be an upgrade unit that I'm gonna put in my RV, and it's gonna auto detect if I have a lithium battery, and it's gonna charge it at that higher voltage. Don't ask me how, it's magic. But if you don't have that, you're not going to be able to use the full capacity. Again, you're only going to be charging to about an 80% state on your battery. Hey, it's John the Net Guy, and you might be thinking, is it time to finally go to a lithium battery in your RV or travel trailer? I'm here today to give you a few facts and some things you may or may not have thought about, which we're going to talk about why this could, or maybe it's not, because maybe this is just about the best upgrade you can do for your RV in 2025. Now, my kids, I don't know about you, have a ton of electronic devices. I have Starlink, I've got a fridge, I've got a whole bunch of other stuff going on, and a travel trailer, being a 12-volt electrical system, is almost a perfect candidate for a lithium upgrade. Problem comes in when you upgrade one component of the system and maybe not the rest. So we're going to talk about the benefits and the drawbacks from going from lead acid to lithium iron phosphate. So let's talk about these batteries. This battery here from Power Queen is one of my favorite brands. There's also Lifetime, there's also EcoWorthy, and several other brands that make good lithium batteries now. And this is the 100 amp hour size, which is about 20 pounds. So I can very easily lift this one up. On the other hand, this Group 24 deep cycle marine battery, I can't lift up at all. It's over 40 pounds, and some of the Group 27s can be upwards of 65 pounds. So capacity, this one wins hands down. So that's just one basic thing that lithium has going for it. From a cost perspective, the costs have come way down on lithium iron phosphate, so it's almost neck and neck here. You can get some good deals on some deep cycle lead acid, but lithium's coming down to the point where the cost is almost not a factor. So capacity is the next thing we have to talk about. This is 100 amp hour, but you can use this all the way down to 0 if you have to, a couple of thousand times. If you try to do that even to a deep cycle lead acid battery, you're going to have problems with that. It's going to start to take a toll on the battery chemistry inside. It's going to start to lose capacity very quickly over time. Then let's talk about the actual usable capacity. The label on this one, they say reserve capacity, has 135 minutes, or just over 2 hours and 15 minutes of reserve capacity. Well, what is that? That's a 25 amp load for 2 hours and 15 minutes, or roughly about 55 amp hours. Now, that's not recommended usage. That's just what it can do maximally. If you keep doing that, again, you're going to build up a memory, and you're going to change the chemical state of this battery to where it's not actually going to be able to do that over and over. This battery is 100 amp hours at 12.8 volts, and it will be able to do 80% of that with no memory effect at all, 4,000 to 10,000 times. If you want to take it all the way to the 0 point, you're going to be able to do that up to 2,000 times with most of these, and there's just going to be a residual effect of maybe 20% reduced capacity over time when you're doing that level of discharge. Another interesting thing is the voltage. It's very easy to understand how much capacity is left in your battery by using a simple voltmeter. With this, the voltage on lithiums is higher and stays higher continuously. That means there's a problem when you're trying to figure out how much is left in your battery. You can't use a simple meter like might be in your RV already. You need something to measure the state of charge, and then you're getting additional items that you have to put in your electrical system. If you try to put a lithium battery directly on your trailer, you're going to run into two problems immediately. One, the charger in your trailer is most likely one of these. This is called a converter, and it's going to convert your 120 volts of AC into up to maybe 50 amps of DC. If you have a standard converter that was designed for a lead acid battery and you put a lithium battery on it, it will still charge it, but it's going to charge it at reduced voltage. These need higher voltage, somewhere around 14.4 to 14.6, depending on the manufacturer. Somewhere from 14.2 to 14.6, depending on the manufacturer. So once we have that converter, if you're manufactured, say 2020 or later, you probably have an auto-detecting one. This happens to be an upgrade unit that I'm going to put in my RV, and it's going to auto-detect if I have a lithium battery, and it's going to charge it at that higher voltage. Don't Don't ask me how, it's magic. But if you don't have that, you're not gonna be able to use the full capacity. Again, you're only gonna be charging to about an 80% state on your battery. Another interesting thing is discharge rate. So this battery will float somewhere between 13.3 and 14 volts when it's full. As it starts to discharge, it's gonna hold that through about 70% of the range before it'll even drop below 13 usually. When you get to 12.5, 12.6, 12.8, your battery's pretty much dead. Whereas 12.8 would be 100% of this battery. So if you have any sort of power metering or other devices in your system that are depending on that voltage to do the state of charge, it's not going to work the same. So if you can upgrade to a newer converter, you will be able to charge the full capacity of this. Otherwise, assume you're not going to get to the full capacity. It should still charge it, but you're going to be leaving about 20% of that capacity on the table. Speaking of capacity, again, this has between 80 and 100 amp hours of completely usable capacity. We said that this one, for twice the weight, only has about 55 amp hours in a pinch. So you're definitely getting a capacity bump. Next, we got to talk about power-hungry devices. So if you've got a television, maybe a fridge, maybe a heater, electric heater, or electric hot water, don't assume that this is going to run your electric hot water tank. That's 1500 watts or so usually of AC, and some of your other devices may be very high drain, like running a hair dryer. This is going to be able to provide 100 amp hours times 12.8, or about 1280 watts to an inverter completely. That's not including all the other devices that you've got running in your trailer that actually reduce that. So you might be able to conveniently run a 1000 watt inverter, which might not be enough to even run your microwave. Let's say you have a 900 watt microwave. A lot of those are duty cycling. So they're actually gonna use 1200 or 1500 watts and then take a break, and then 1200 or 1500 again and take a break. And they'll average to about 900 watts, but they might have a much higher, up to 1.5 times, in fact, the rated wattage of load that they need out of your inverter. So this thing is going to be by itself a little bit reduced. Take a look at the batteries and the battery specs to decide what the maximum wattage that you can get is. If you use two of these batteries together, which is still about the same weight as this, not only do you get almost 4 times the usable capacity in a pinch, but you're going to be able to run 2500 or 2560 watts of inverter capacity or total load capacity out of both of those batteries without overloading them. The next thing we got to talk about is safety. So this battery has a BMS, or battery management system, in it. Inside this battery are going to be 4 cells that are being charged up as the battery is loading. It's also going to level those cells. Back in the day of early lithium iron phosphate, you had to do all sorts of battery leveling tricks yourself. You had to have your own external BMS, or battery management system. Now that's all integrated in a simple form-fitting package here with the convenience of a Group 24 size, so it's a drop-in into your existing battery container. That said, it's not perfect, but it is a drop-in fit. They've designed it to be an upgrade path for you. But from a safety perspective, these batteries can be mounted in any position, so it doesn't have to necessarily be on the tongue. You can mount them horizontally. Most of them can even be mounted on their side or upside down, but take a look at the manufacturer specific instructions. These batteries can only be vertical. When you're charging them, they off-gas a dangerous and explosive hydrogen gas. The other thing you have to be careful is you can't use these in enclosed living spaces, whereas these are very easily put in an enclosure. It could be under a couch, could be near your inverter. You don't have to worry about the location where you put these because they're not off-gassing anything. From a disposability perspective, these will last up to 10 years. These are gonna last at best about 5. So you have definitely twice the longevity out of these as you do these, but when you go to dispose of them, this may be harder to dispose in your area. So lithium batteries are harder to recycle right now. These ones generally have zinc and copper and other metals and lead and things that they want out of them. So they'll take them and recycle them. So it's a little bit easier to get rid of lead acid batteries from a safety perspective. Now the BMS on here is going to protect it from overloading. It's going to protect it from short circuiting. It's going to protect it from overcharging. It's going to do all those kind of things built in. Some batteries will have a low temperature protection as well. And you're going to want to look for that because that's a sign of a high quality battery. If you don't have low temperature protection, you have a problem when it comes to RVs, especially if the battery is mounted outside of the RV. In this case, if you don't have low temperature protection and it gets below freezing, if you try to charge this battery through your converter, through your solar or some other means, it will actually damage the battery. So you can damage and ruin a very good and expensive lithium battery by charging it below freezing. So how do you solve for that? Well, a lot of BMSs have a low temperature cutoff. Some batteries advertise themselves as self-heating, which means they'll actually heat themselves up, kind of like a Tesla vehicle battery, to get to that ideal charging state before they charge. So that's another good option. Both of those drive the cost up, and you usually don't find those in the lower or cheaper, most economical brands. You might have to go a step or two up. These batteries, on the other hand, can work and operate at very low temperatures and can be recharged at very low temperatures. These can be used at low temperatures, but can't necessarily be recharged unless you heated them up. The lead acid battery, on the other hand, works less efficiently at low temperature, whereas this doesn't have a voltage fall off or capacity fall off at low temperature, freezing temperatures. This one is going to be severely reduced the lower the temperature gets. That's why you see in the winter the headlights dimming, the car doesn't start as easily, because these ones are very temperature sensitive as far as their capacity and available voltage. What you might also need to consider is that when you plug this in, it's not going to automatically make your RV able to use everything. You may still need an inverter to run your microwave, hair dryer, fridge, hot water, other things like that that may need to run on 120 volts. So you'll still need to buy an inverter. Something that you might think about if you're looking about lithium and you want that extra capacity, but maybe you don't want to deal with a converter or wiring or retrofitting an older rig like mine, you can look at a power station. Now this just happens to be a 1400 watt unit from the Dabson company. I really like this unit for a variety of reasons. It has the same and slightly more capacity than this battery. They've architected it in a way, they've designed it in a way that can actually have a 2400 watt surge on the inverter, so you can run some of those high drain devices like microwaves, which I've used this for. And specifically on this one, it even comes with a TT30 plug on the side, so you can use that. It has a Bluetooth app, so you can set the charge rates. So if you have a generator that you want to recharge it with, you can set it so that it's not taking all of the power from the generator, or you can have it charge as quickly as possible from the generator, and you can be back to charging in almost 2 hours on a battery that has 1400 watts of capacity in it built in. It has additionally multiple plugins for AC, and it has DC charging capabilities, including DC 100 watt power delivery on the front of it, along with a cigarette lighter port and barrel jacks, so you can run other devices like, you know, pool pumps or inflatable pumps or other things you might need on the road. So this can be a great option if you want the capacity of lithium. They even have ones that go over 2,000, 2,500 watts of available capacity continuous, and you don't want the complexity of upgrading your electrical system. If you're willing to take the plunge and you want to upgrade to lithium and you've heard the different benefits and drawbacks here, make sure that you do it safely. Make sure you have them follow manufacturer's instructions. If your RV says it's lithium ready, in general, you're in pretty good shape. Another interesting thing to think about too, when you're connecting your tow vehicle to an upgraded trailer that's maybe again upgraded to lithium, these batteries charge fast. They can charge as quickly, usually, as their capacity. That's called 1C. So if this is 100 amp hour, you can charge it usually at 100 amps. Some of them, half a C is the desired charge rate, but you can charge them usually up to 1C. Whereas these ones are much slower charging. They take hours and hours of your generator running through a battery charger and others to get fully charged. With this one, being able to charge so quickly is a benefit because of the lower internal resistance, but it's also a drawback when you plug your tow vehicle in. Now my vehicle back there has 300 amp alternator, but the wire to the charge plug on the trailer is limited to 30 amps. If you plug this in there, this could either blow the fuse on that, or if it's a self-resetting relay, it could actually cause cycling on that relay in heat and temperature. So the best thing to do if you're going to do a lithium conversion is to make sure that your vehicle has a DC to DC charger. That adds additional costs that you may or may not have been thinking about when you're doing your solar. Some additional costs that you may not be thinking about when you're doing your upgrade to lithium. So make sure you plan that in, a DC to DC charger. Now, speaking of DC to DC charging, if you want a very interesting device, this one happens to be an older model from Renogy. This is a DC to DC charger, so it has a little alternator symbol right there. It's also an MPPT, so a very high quality solar charging interface. So this will prioritize solar even over the alternator. And lastly, it's going to be doing battery monitoring and have a whole system for battery monitoring, including the ability to monitor with Bluetooth. So that's an advantage of one of these all-in-one units, and you can do that to do your DC charging from your vehicle. If you do have solar and a solar charge converter and a solar charge controller on your vehicle, you may consider doing away with the charging plug from your tow vehicle, especially if you're towing during good weather, you're camping usually during the summer. The amount of power that you're going to get from a couple hundred watts of solar panels is going to be equal to what your tow vehicle can normally provide anyway, and it's going to keep your battery topped off. Now, I'm going to go do the upgrade, and if you're interested, check my next video, which is going to walk you through the steps to do an upgrade on a travel trailer like mine. This has been John the Net Guy. Thanks for watching.